Hi everyone.
Oh, that's you too. Go for it.
Yeah. So we will just start. And oops, that was too fast. I think we're muted.
Thank you.
No worries. So the web is this amazing place, and it is a place where we can express ourselves, where we can be creative, where we can socialize with other people, and it's really connected in our lives. We use it at work, or we use it for academic research, and even in our personal life, like meditating or socializing. And we as developers play a major role in the development of the web. And it is moving at a rapid pace. And can you only imagine how it's going to be in the future with all these upcoming technologies? And what if I tell you that you're not invited, that you're not being part of this amazing development, that we are leaving you out? And this is not what we want. We want to include as many people as possible in all these emerging web technologies. My name is Mauricio Palma. I was born and raised in Costa Rica, and I've been living since the past 12 years in the beautiful city of Hamburg. I'm a product engineer working for Sinashvara, where we get to do a lot of exciting projects. And my role there is I try to focus a lot in user interfaces and user interaction, so I work very closely with designers and developers alike. And besides my life as a developer, I also run a family business. And at Wood Lake Ocean, we craft swimwear out of ocean recovery fishing nets. And we experiment with the concept of using waste as the main ingredient of our products, which I think is the future of consumer goods. And now that you have a notion about my professional background, I want to tell you a personal story. And this is actually the second time I have been in Japan. And I was here 17 years ago, and I had the great honor to pursue back then a career doing karate in Fukuoka with some great people. It was a great honor. And for me, this experience was so important because I learned so much about dedication, discipline, about giving your best. So Japan has always been a really important country for me, a very special country for me. And I have the great honor to be here and talk to you about the things I'm passionate about accessibility, about web APIs, so it is such a great honor. And I would like to thank the organizers for having me, and I would like for us to give it up for them, for this amazing event. Yeah. And, well, that was the short story. And being a web developer is something that I love. And I don't even see it as work, but as a passion for aesthetics, for creativity, for writing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I love the challenges, I love the grind, and I love the gratification of being a project to life. And that's all amazing. But what I have come to realize in these later years is that it's not about my self-gratification. It should actually serve a higher purpose. And don't get confused with the name of the talk. It is actually not a struggle between accessibility and web APIs. On the contrary, it is the collaboration of both of them that will guide us on this journey and how to build empathetic and inclusive web applications. So I don't know if you're familiar with this, but a lot of times can be so challenging to try to implement accessibility in our applications. And it can be really frustrating when you get to hear from decision makers, oh no, we don't need accessibility. It is not relevant for our target audience. And every single time I hear that, I get so frustrated and angry. But even though it is still our responsibility as developers to spread awareness and to implement accessibility as long as we can. We as web professionals, we have a collective responsibility for the applications we build. And even if you're not aware of it or not. And it is important to be mindful and empathetic with our work. And think about it for a second. So all of us, we work in the tech industry. We have seen hundreds of applications. We have gone through a ton of user flows. So we have this toolbox full with buzzwords. But the point here is that we as web professionals, we can get around any interface, no matter how badly designed it is. But that is us, trapped in a bubble, trapped in our own bias. And this is not how the rest of the world interact with our applications, not at all. And there were two events in my life that made me realize about the importance of inclusive design and accessibility in applications. Excuse me a second. And the first and most painful one was a health issue we had in the family. My wife's uncle, he was found on the floor, unconscious and dehydrated. He probably laid on the floor for a couple of days. And we're very happy he's back home, he's doing all right. But he's an elderly person. And before his accident, he relied on the web to pretty much organize his entire life. Groceries would be ordered online, pastries would be ordered for coffee dates, he would do his finances and accounting, so he relied on the web. And after his hospital release, he gave me a call and he said, Mauricio, I think my computer is broken. He was trying to order some groceries and he couldn't. So we went over there and I checked his computer and everything was working fine. So I told him, can you please show me the problem? And this was a moment I will never forget. He couldn't recognize an add to cart button. He couldn't distinguish between an input field or a copy. He couldn't navigate through the app at all. And there is something I forgot for context, is that after his release, he had poor vision after that and a bit of memory loss. And I realized at that moment that I, as a web developer, was not being responsible with the work I'm doing. And we can actually make better use of the current accessibility tools to help people like my wife's uncle get things done online. We can even go further and take advantage of all the web APIs and make the web a more open place for everyone. But before breaking out our code editor, I want us to step back for a moment and consider the following things. We need to challenge our mindset every single time we start a project. It is not about us trying new technologies or trying new coding paradigms, which are important, don't get me wrong, but the true baseline is to include in a meaningful way as many people as we can in our applications. We need to be aware that we tend to use our own experiences to develop and design applications. And to be inclusive, we need to open ourselves to new perspectives and try to distance ourselves from our own bias. Let us apply empathy as a way to gain insights to improve our web applications. Empathy is about understanding and being sensitive to someone else's experiences, thoughts, and feelings. And not only users benefit from us being empathetic, our co-workers, our stakeholders, they all benefit when we try to put ourselves in their position. Let us be curious and research with genuine interest new perspectives and experiences, and explore with curiosity the full range of human diversity. At the end, we will identify with people, we will bond with people we never expected before. And let's nurture the mentioned skills as collaborative tools. They can be used as tools, these skills. And take it to the next level and educate others about the importance of accessibility and inclusiveness. We'd love to do something like that. I can. So now that we have covered the 5 absolutely necessary skills, in my opinion, about inclusiveness, we can slowly dive into tech implications of what I've just said. And what I have observed among us developers is that accessibility is just a checklist given by, or list of recommendations given by the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines that we need to implement. And now just to have a notion, how many of you do front-end development? Can you please raise your hands? Well, a few, that's good, that's good. So this happens to us, to front-end developers, a lot of time, but it feels like this attitude we have towards development for all their browsers. You know that feeling when we have working on a project and we have to check it in an old Internet Explorer? For us as front-end developers, we're always nervous. And when the time has come to check a project. So think about it for a moment. We as humans, we try to avoid things we don't understand, which is normal. It's our nature. And probably the reason why web accessibility is being perceived that way. But what if we start considering web accessibility and inclusiveness as technical concerns of our application? For example, in Japan alone, there are 40 million people with hearing impairments. That's about 10.9% of the Japanese population. And every single day, we deny these people access to our social and professional lives. And during my research, I found this app called Ava. And I think the team challenged this reality with their work. And I would like to show you quickly what they do. Okay.
I am deaf.
I am hard of hearing and I'm pretty good at reading lips. When there's too many people though, this can get really tough. Sometimes the percent understand.
People talk so fast, it can be pretty overwhelming. When there's too much going on, Ava is awesome to see what people say. With one tap, I invite people, and they join me with their phones.
I need Ava to attend meetings at work.
Follow what the teacher says in class.
I won't understand people when they forgot to look at me. Ava will translate just about anything for me.
Well, almost everything.
This is so inspiring. And what they did create, I didn't work for them, I just found them. And what they did amazing is that by recognizing exclusion and being empathetic towards deaf and hard of hearing people, they were able to come up with a meaningful solution that can help people in their daily life. And we can do that on the web today. And today's browsers offers a lot of extra functionalities written in JavaScript that we can use to perform all imaginable tasks. And do you remember there were 2 events in my life that made me think about accessibility? And the second one was a sport injury. I dislocated my arm, and so the doctor gave me a 2-week sick notice, but I was feeling good and I wanted to stay productive. And this is how I discovered the dictation tool for my Mac. I was able even to code using speech. And it's an amazing feature, it works very well. And I suddenly recognized the enormous potential of the web speech recognition API by allowing applications to use voice commands to actually navigate or interact with our applications. And we can be inclusive to a lot of people with vision impairments, people like my wife's uncle, or people who struggle with literacy, or who has a disability. And the Web Speech API has been around since 2014, and it's being baked natively in the web. And it enables us to include speech recognition and synthesis in our applications. So we will be covering, I have a demo application for you, and we will be using the web speech recognition as a core feature. And accessibility and inclusion will become our main concerns at a technical level. So here's an example of how the application looks at. And it is a universal JavaScript application. And what this web app does is it collects all of my Spotify playlists and lets me navigate through them. And actually, I can play them in any device where I have my Spotify app available. And to include the recognition service into the app, we have to think about the speech recognition receives speech through a device microphone. It processes the speech and check it against the list of grammars. And that's pretty much it. In Chrome, it is important to note that the speech recognition involves a server-based recognition engine. What this means is audio will be sent to a web service to be processed, and it would only work when we're online. In theory, the browser should use our default speech recognition system available, but that's only theory. And to get started, we need a few things. We can start with the configuration. And so we create an instance of the speech recognition controller. We have some properties which we can adjust. That would be the max alternatives. It let us define the amount of possible words of suggestions that we want to receive back from our transcript or the result that we get from the service. The interim result allows to receive results that are not final yet. And we have a lang property. And the lang property, it defaults to the HTML lang when it's not defined, or to the user agent's language settings. And we have also the speech grammar list. It is a new controller that we will instantiate, and it represents a list of grammar objects containing words and patterns for the service to understand. So if we look back at our function, we will see that we pass a list of utterances or spoken words necessary for the recognition. And I'm using RxJS observables for the grammar stream, which we will not cover in detail, but it is basically a data stream that receives the grammar. So instead of receiving them all at once, I can receive them over time. So we subscribe to the grammar stream and pass these grammars to the add-to-string method, which takes the grammars and the weight as a second parameter. And the weight refers to the importance of how important we think are those words for the service to understand. And it has a value that ranges from 0.0 to 1. And at the end, we will pass the speech to the speech recognition itself. And there's an important aspect about grammars that we need to cover and we need to take in consideration. And for that, we need to take a closer look at NLP. So natural language processing, or NLP, is the field that what it does is focuses on the interactions between human language and computers. And it analyzes, understands, and tries to derive meaning from human language. And that's what the Web Speech API is all about. But there's an underlying problem. Human language is ambiguous. A word can have many meanings. And it is really hard to get right. And it gets even more difficult if you start considering accents. For example, I live in Germany, so I speak German, but with a heavy accent. So when I talk to Alexa in German, it is really frustrating. She don't understand what I'm trying to say, even though I'm speaking German. So English is better, and Spanish, I realized with the web speech recognition, which is my mother tongue, works very well. And we really want to be inclusive. The application needs to understand what we mean. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done for getting accents and combined languages like English and Spanish right. And for this application, the Alexa instance was a good source of inspiration for tackling to some extent the problem of ambiguous language. By providing our speech commands a list of utterances, we can give our commands more information about our intentions. So this would be a simple equivalent in JavaScript when we consider to be relevant intentions of what I could say. And I will show you an example very soon. So we have a type, we have the samples, which are our intentions, and the action that should be triggered with this intentions. And we iterate over intent samples and create a new array and register each sample of my commands. And the factory takes care of receiving, administrating, and matching the grammars. We iterate over again the new array and register the intents to a callable intent, which is the point where our grammars and our actions match, and we trigger an action. And I have a live demo for you. So this is going to be a little bit strange because I need to talk to the computer microphone, so I need to go like this, but let me show you that. The internet is very slow, so you need to apologize for that. So now we're back and running. So we were talking about intents, and we would want to say, okay, show me some playlists. And we would go ahead and say, go to playlist. So it takes time because of the internet, but then I have all of my playlists, and those are my Spotify playlists. And the best view is actually a pretty general one, has kind of all kind of songs. And we want to go there and we would say, okay, go to the best view. So the services processes the grammars and says, okay, I found that playlist, I will go there. And I would say, I've been listening to movement a lot nowadays, so we can try that one out. And we would say, play movement. And then you will see that it actually works on the Spotify. So I'm playing the songs that I told the service. So let's pause this for a second. Go back. So there's one more thing I would like to show you about languages, because you might be thinking, does this work in Japanese, for example? It does. So any language defined by the Internet Engineering Group, oh god, we're running out of time, so we go fast. Any language defined by the Internet Engineering Group, it is available. So all of these ISO codes are available, and you can even go regional. And I could change, I come from Costa Rica, so I can say, let's do Spanish from Costa Rica. And we would do something like languages. So these are the currently supported languages from the app, and I will pick something like Spanish. So now I will be speaking Spanish. Sorry about that for a second, but I just want to give you an example. So I have this Spanish playlist and this one here. Let's give it a try. Dulce escape. Tools. In Spanish. So once again. Dulce escape. Dulce escape. So finally. So, and then I would pick another song. This one, it would be Pasa Orbita. Toca Orbita. So, that was it. That was the demo. And, so we're running out of time. I'm gonna rush into some methods that you will need to get this thing running, and that would be, you will need the start method, which triggers the speech recognition, us by pressing the mic button. We have some events too. We have the on-air read-only property, which is very useful because it lets you know the service has a network error, or maybe I give them a wrong command, so you can actually interact and make better interfaces using or applying these errors. And the moment we have been waiting for, this is what we receive back. That is a transcript, that is the understood word, and a confidence. The service tells us how confident thinks the service is. And this allows us to access, it is called the speech recognition alternative, where the values you will find them. Unfortunately, they're available like that, but you will find there the speech recognition alternative, and where will you find both values. And so we have covered, what we have covered, that's all you need to get a speech recognition service running. It's not that hard, that's all you need. And there's one last thing I would like to tell you about it, and it is browser support. And currently only available in Chrome. But don't get scared. We have solutions like Google's text-to-speech or Watson's natural language, and there is all these third-party libraries that get the job done as well. And the reason I focus on the web speech API is I like a lot of the native things that the browser has to offer. But you can actually do these kind of things on production software using other libraries. The repo is available, so if you want to play with it, go ahead, break it, experiment, create new things with it. You will be more than welcome to do that. And if you have any questions, you can talk to me. I'll be here the whole day and the whole weekend, so I'll be glad to help you with any questions. And those are my handles, so if you don't talk to me now, you can talk to me later. And thank you very much for having me. Arigatou gozaimasu.
ありがとうございます、マリシアさん。